Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Time to Lean with your host, Laura Danger. I'm Crystal Britt, where we help gather up. You give us your dirty laundry, and we hopefully help you clean up a little bit of your shit that you've got situated. We are so excited to have you here with us today. We love seeing your questions come in. We're just super stoked to get into it. How are you, Laura? How's your day going?
It's going. It's going. We're running on fumes this Friday, but we are excited. By the time this comes out on Wednesday, hopefully everybody's doing all right.
Literally. I feel like when we record on Fridays for those of you who don't know. So if it ever seems like we're a little run down, it's because we are.
Yes,
It's because we are.
correct.
We are not fresh-faced and doing this on Monday morning.
No.
I saved this we decided on Fridays partially for scheduling, but also because I need something to look forward to. That's the end of the week. So we've situated it. Okay. So we got a speak pipe in that first of all, I have loved within the last week. We have actually gotten 3 submissions from men, which is incredible.
Ooh.
Yeah, I always love when names come through and it's like Andrew and Chris, and I'm like, hell yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to play it because it like this brave soul, I mean, truly, like, I feel like when you are a man calling into this podcast, it's like, take as much time as you need to get to the point. So there were 2 different speak pipes. So I want to like kind of summarize what this person asked so that we can speak toward it. So I'm not going to play it, but he wrote in and he said, he sent in a voicemail and he said, he was laid off, like unexpectedly, suddenly kind of like thrown into the primary caregiver role within his marriage. They have small kids. And essentially what he was talking about was prior to being thrown into that primary caregiver role, it had never occurred to him, being socialized as male, that he could learn things like how to meal plan or how to meal prep or breaking down tasks within the home that would be primary, like learning about nap times, right? Or learning what to feed the kids. That it wasn't, he didn't say innate knowledge, but I do feel like what I wanted to speak toward was the idea that there's no in between when it comes to, there's no grace or space when it comes to learning these as skills. There's no normalization, especially for men, of, yeah, you've got to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to keep a clean house. You have to learn how to do laundry, sort laundry. You have to learn how to grocery shop, right? It's kind of like, well, women know how to do that and men don't, I feel like. So I'm interested, Laura, like where you've seen this come up when you've been working with clients, or if you've had this experience. My husband and I have had this conversation actually in relation to like child rearing. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are off the bat.
What's interesting is I think not only are household domestic caregiving skills not seen as things you can or should learn, but if at all they're mentioned as skills or research or anything, it is only targeted to women. I actually, right before I logged on to here, was checking my email, and I had an email from the USDA because I had found
Did you, in response to your write-in?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
God, please tell this story.
So my husband and I have been trying to update nutrition. And so we were looking at the guidelines for like how many grams of what do our kids need? And so we found this article on USDA, and I'm clicking around and it says, especially for moms. And it's an article that says, as moms, we know that
God
our
damn it.
children's nutrition, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? So you click around and you're like, what do you mean for moms? What about this is mother specific? And it was an article from 2013.
Oh my God.
And I
Okay, first of
emailed
all,
them. A lot has changed since 2013. But I did get an email back from them initially that asked me for a little bit more detail, asked me for the link. And then I got an email today that just said, thank you so much for flagging this embarrassingly old article. We have updated it. And they even asked if you have any additional resources that you think we should include, please let us know.
wow, that's awesome.
So it's been removed.
USDA can get it. That's great.
And you know what's also very funny is recently a couple of times I've found things like Parents Magazine or like these big time magazines. If you search for something like safe sleep or whatever, the headline will say something like tips for parents for back to school, whatever. You will click on it and the address will say tips for moms for back to school. So they've updated since it originally came out and made it more caregiving neutral, which is great to see, but it is a very interesting thing to
Shift.
notice.
Yes, absolutely. Very interesting shift to notice. Yeah, it's so funny because it's very, like, even, and I don't know, it's interesting as a person who has never been like, yeah, like homemaking definitely is something that is in my skill set, but I remember, or that I would like to be in my skill set. But I remember the first college that I went to was a very conservative Christian college. They had a legitimate, like they had like a, not a family and consumer affairs, not that. It was a home ec degree. And the girls, I lived in an all-girl dorm. The girls who were getting that degree unironically called it the MRS degree. So it's like, it was like a very, like a strictly like homemaking, homemaker, home economics degree. And, you know, even then I would like make fun of it. And then when I had kids and was like, I don't know how to put a meal plan together, I would like tongue in cheek joke, like, I guess they're laughing at me now. I don't know how to do that shit. You know what I mean? Where it's like the normalization of just like I had to learn how to check the water and oil level in my car, learning how to look at like where do we get the information so that we can know like what nutritional things we're supposed to be feeding our kids and what that's supposed to look like, right? They're just not skills that are universally taught or explicitly like, yeah, you can learn how to do that. Here are normal, non-religious, weird gendered ways to do it, right? It's like one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's invisible labor. It's invisible
100%.
labor. And I mean, I think about, we got a new washer dryer and we got it and it was so nice because my husband and I had to learn at the same time how to use it. So there was no, oh, you're just better at this. There was no not even, he doesn't, that was never anything that he said, but there was no internal assumption.
Yes.
It was just immediately like, I guess we have to read the instructions.
I guess let's sit down and pick a night when we go over the manual. Yeah, 100%. Do you remember a few years ago when a dad, this was like maybe, it might have been 2013, honestly, 2014, when a dad went viral for his like daddy hair school that he did, or the YouTube series that he did online. Tell me what's behind that. Yes, Laura. I would love to know what's behind that noise.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different thing that went viral. What I'm thinking of that went viral was a dad who braided his daughter's hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's all it was.
Oh, okay. So this was a little bit more. It was like a dad who definitely went viral for braiding his daughter's hair, but then offered classes or like YouTube tutorials of like for dads. Like, here's how you do girls' hair. Like, in addition to, but yeah, it had to have been around the same time. But this idea that like, I'm wondering if like the stigma around when dads do it, it's like an above and beyond thing also gets in the way of like, this is a thing that moms also have to learn how to do. This is not something that like I innately know how to do because I am a woman. And almost like it has to be like, I'm wondering if it has to be called out for men as like a special skill to be like, here, almost like when you were talking a couple of weeks ago about the oh crap potty training, where it's like, here's a page just for daddies, daddy cheat sheet, where it's like, here's a daddy cheat sheet about how to clean a living room. Here's a daddy cheat sheet about how to organize your kids' toys. You know what I mean? Where it's like, no, these are all, like you said, invisible labor, skills that are important within a home, but are not like they're not marketed that way.
Even the fact that it has to be a page is the acknowledgement that it was assumed to not be his. It was not a man thing until you put it on a page and said it was a man thing. Which, yeah, like, I don't know how I feel about these things where it's like daddy classes. Could it just be parenting? Could it just be childcare? Could it just be like it doesn't have to be like a blue mop and a pink mop. It'd just be a mop.
But mops don't sell. Regular mops don't sell. It's like the thing of pink tools, like when girls go to college and they're like, here's your pink tool set. And you're like, this is a piece of shit power drill. Could I just get, like an actual brand name power drill and the amount of money that you spend on
Make
this?
that pink. I want a pink Milwaukee.
I want a pink Milwaukee 100%.
I got the Milwaukee drill. I don't want Ryobi. I want a Milwaukee. I want it pink with flowers. Okay. You can give the little boy one. Give my husband the little boy version.
Give him the boy
for
one.
Boys.
Do you know how excited I was when on Twitter, before the Barbie movie came out, Xbox tweeted that it would be giving away special editions of a Barbie Dreamhouse Xbox, and it was like real. It wasn't like an April Fool's joke or anything, but they like made like fucking 2 of those, and I was like, I would buy the shit out of that. I don't own an Xbox. My husband does, but it's black and green and it's dumb. I want the Barbie Dreamhouse Xbox. Or, and this is like completely a tangent, the way Dungeons and Dragons does not have, the closest I can get to high fem or fem dice or like Dungeon Master screens or anything is kawaii. And even that is very, very difficult to find. I can't find any fem D&D stuff because it's like, girls don't play D&D. That's a boys. Boys like dragons.
Yeah, and I mean, to the point I think that we're getting at is like, boys also like pink. Like, I think anybody would like, I think my husband would, we don't have an Xbox either, but I think that he would pick a pink one. Like, it should just all be, it's so silly that it's like categorized. And like, not all men like black and green and neon and like these sharp
camo
corners. And
sharp
like,
corners.
It's like so reductive.
It's so true. Some men like soft, rounded corners.
They
deal
do.
with it. They do. They absolutely do.
And we've talked about that before, about like the way that patriarchy just like tells men that they shouldn't be into style, and like that even that those are skills, like knowing, taking the time to research drawers and things like that. Like just the other day we had to solve a problem with the drawers on my daughter's cabinet won't open. And my husband said something like, well, we could either get handles or we could get a new drawer set. And I was like, have you ever tried to get an armoire? Ever?
Do you understand how hard armoires are to get?
Oh my God. And we sat down together, and that was one of those things, years into this Fair Play journey. He had never done that. I've always done that. And he was like, within a half hour, which it took a full half hour, and we still didn't have one. Yep. He was like, because my solution was, let's just go to Home Depot and get knobs. I will drill knobs into this thing. Right. And he was like, just get a new one. Like, the one she has is old. I was like, all right.
Like, there's a reason that it's old.
Yeah.
Because you can't get those.
And he assumed, it's so funny, he assumed that I was emotionally attached to it.
To the armoire? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I was like, no, I would so much rather just like glue pull tabs on this thing, because I'm going to spend $400 on one that's ugly, an inch too small, and I'm going to have to put it together. No, we are dying with this thing in our house. It's the right color.
We will die around this thing. Yeah, exactly. No, this was a once in a lifetime armoire piece of furniture. Sorry about it.
But it's
That's
like,
so funny.
it's one of those invisible labor pieces where we just like default into these roles. And because I have always loved furniture, because I had a fucking Barbie dream house and I
Yep.
played The Sims because that was a girl's game, and I built, I styled homes for hours. It's just
My
like
God,
so insidious.
that sounds so nice right now. Like
Yeah.
legitimately, I have been Sims won't. This is the only downfall to Apple products, but Sims won't run. Like it's too much to run on my MacBook Pro. It's the only reason I'm wanting my husband to get a PC. Where I'm like, can you just get it so I could play Sims? It's still big. They are still coming out with updates for that game. But yeah, it's like having that space of like, this is where I can definitely see. I think you've mentioned the book on the podcast. If you haven't, you talk about this book all the time, Parenting Beyond Pink and Blue, where gender neutral parenting, or providing those options for your kids, right? Like my son, when he loves the color pink, he loves to paint his nails pink, but the split second that I see him have to weigh how many more days do I have left with other boys, or how many more days do I have like at summer camp, or how many days, like if it's a Thursday, I'll do it, but if it's Monday, I'm going to wait until Thursday. Do you know what I mean? To paint his nails, because he's like, I don't know. He's getting to an age where he's like, feels more equipped to be like, have fun with that. Like, I don't give a shit. But the fact that that even has to like enter his psyche makes me so sad, because his dad wears fucking pink shirts all day long. You know what I mean? As a grown man, I mean, they have like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia references on him, but his dad wears pink shorts. You know what I mean? That I'm like, those look great on you. But the idea that they're like societally, these are like only things, going back to this guy's original point, learning those skills or assuming that these are traditionally skills that only women either innately know or are going to be good at learning is so disadvantageous to everybody, to everyone involved.
So, on that point, somebody reached out to me, and I think we're going to try to have her and her husband or her partner on the podcast at some point. But hold on, let me make sure I get it right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Save. Okay. Save Time Shan.
Okay. I'm putting it in
She makes content around ADHD. She has an app. She's very cool. She and her partner
right now. Oh, I'm already following her. Excellent.
So Shannon and her partner, who is a cis man, they have used a lot of ADHD tools to divide domestic labor. And she was talking to me. She often talks to me about the little hiccups that they hit and how they talk about it and identify what's going on. And she was saying that there was something going on about how her partner felt like he was not as equipped to learn, like this guy is saying. He was not as equipped, and he was so afraid of being wrong or getting it wrong or letting people down that. And part of that is the dynamic of like, you're a woman, you are better at this naturally, which you might be more practiced. You might have a broader picture of how the puzzle pieces go together. So it's not based in lies. Like
Right.
It's a feeling that is based in knowledge of the world.
Right.
And it is worth challenging. And together, what I love hearing about from them is how they come together to support one another, to leave room for not necessarily mistakes, but learning. It's really cool.
Yes, 100%. And I'm really glad that you brought up that point, because I do feel like for a lot of men specifically that, because I'll give you a for instance. We, at one point, there was something that needed to be done around the house. I love that shit, right? Like I absolutely adore DIY things. If I didn't have ADHD, our house would be DIY'd with so many things, right? But I get a third of the way into the thing and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But there are tools that like needed to be bought. Like I go to Home Depot, you know, it's the thing of like when a woman walks into Home Depot or someone presenting as female walks into Home Depot and it's like, oh, do you need help? And it's like, yeah, I need your help to move like, I need you to get out the fuck out of my way so I can see the Milwaukee's behind you. Right. Like, so like having that brain space of like, my husband doesn't have any interest in that. Right. But when I have put furniture together or I've done a DIY project, I've put something together and it doesn't work, or it doesn't work the way I want it to, I don't experience this very visceral shame that I have watched my husband experience, where I'm like the feeling that I have is like, when it comes to something that is not typically assigned to my gender, I go, well, whoops. All right, well, I'm going to figure out how else to do it, right?
Yeah.
Or do I want to continue doing this? I don't know. Like, do I want to commit the time to learning how to do this? When my motherhood comes into question, right? I'm like, I'm not naturally good. Like all of this shame, like, why can't I do this? Why am I so bad at this? It's not the objective, like I made a mistake. So I'm wondering if also for men, like this guy who lit the speak pipe, if that, like avoiding that shame or that sense of failure or trying, especially, I will say this, especially in couples where I've seen where the tension is really high because the primary caregiver has held on or has taken on so much stuff for so long, they are pissed. And when they get to fair play coaching, which is fair, I don't want to invalidate that. That is 100% fair. And until that tension comes down a little bit, you're not going to be open to your partner learning how to do the laundry. You're going to be like, are you fucking kidding me? I've been sorting the laundry by whites and darks and colors for 20 years, and all of a sudden you're acting like this is brand new information. I'm mad. That's valid.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's an interesting piece of, it's an interesting paradox that creates shame, which is socially, if the work is invisible, easy, unskilled, when it doesn't come naturally, it is like, oh, well, it must be an issue with the thing. Like, obviously, this is just really hard to learn. Obviously, it's just like a man thing to not know how to do this. Obviously, it's just like, clearly, it's an innate thing. And it's not like something that I should look up or have to learn. And
oh, that's interesting.
because it's like if you're bad at something easy, clearly it's just like, it's not your fault.
I know none of the former gifted kids can relate to this at all. But it's the thing of when I was like 99th percentile for reading, or reading at like, you know, a 10th grade level when I was 10, the thing of I could not fucking understand carrying ones and shit or long division. And I would be like, what the actual math is useless. Yeah. It must be the math. It's not that I could work at this and have growth mindset and like get to, when I first heard growth mindset was when my oldest kid was in first grade. And I was like, what? I was like, this would have changed my life as a child to be like, oh my God, you can learn. It's that thing. Maybe that's what that is, right? Is having growth mindset dictate your home as like, because that frees up the primary caregiver too.
Oh yeah.
Right? Of like, no, like I believe in you. You can learn how to do this. And if you're in a neurodivergent home, we can throw in accommodations to make sure that you are set up well to learn this in the way that your brain learns it, right? I don't sort laundry. I throw in a shout color catcher because I'll be damned if I don't do it that way, laundry will never get done.
Right.
So like,
well, I mean,
yeah.
it all, this is what I think, and maybe I'm assuming you agree. It all comes down to not thinking domestic and care labor is labor.
100%.
And
Completely
that's what
agree.
this guy is saying is I didn't know it was a skill, and that's 100% on purpose because
Yep.
it has been used as a tool of oppression.
Yep.
If it's not work, then we don't have to value it. We don't have to value the laborer. We don't have to, it can just be magic.
Yeah.
It just happens. It's so weird.
Oh my God, that's so interesting because it is. It's like if we don't, I mean, clearly, I feel like the book that would go along to like pair with this parallel is The Secret Life of Home Economics that you've recommended to me before. admittedly did not finish the whole thing, but reading like the first chapters about like Betty Crocker and how Betty Crocker was like a fucking Mad Men marketing tool, like Mad Men
Right.
style marketing tool, because women were the ones who were doing grocery shopping. It's like, no, those things have been set up in order to profit capitalism. Right. And in order to profit other systems and companies and to provide like oppression where we don't want to have to deal with these like bigger systems and issues at play. That's fascinating to me. Of like, no, those aren't skills.
No.
Those are just things
Yeah.
that happen.
It's just like a part. Yeah. Well, and that, yeah, the secret history of home economics. And what I liked about that was the ways that they talk about how things were manipulated but also it talks about how these things were turned into degrees that you could get and, you know, nutrition implemented in government and how all of those things work together. Again, capitalism, like why did school lunches start? To bail out farms. And then why did they go away? Capitalism. So that's really interesting. And then Betty Friedan wrote The Feminine Mystique, which also aligns with, you know, Betty Friedan talks about turning all of that work into just like feminine, natural motherhood instinct, like women are to be fulfilled by these roles. And of course, if you make it innately feminine, just like part of you, and then it doesn't actually match with reality, that's where these middle-class white women who read that book ended up following the lean-in path and then shoving that off to, you know, Black and Hispanic women mostly, and just like making it all worse.
That's so interesting. Chelsea Conaboy DM'd me this week and was responding to a post that I had earlier this week about adults widely going undiagnosed if they are neurodivergent until they had kids. And then it was like, oh my God. And she was like, I am really curious with her research that she did for Mother Brain. She was like, I'm really curious what the implications are for people who were not diagnosed neurodivergent when they had kids in regards to attachment and in regards to bonding in societal message. I was like, oh, that's my story. Like that's like I had postpartum depression and the pressure for nursing, for attachment, for bonding. Like if I had known that I was neurodivergent then, like how would that have affected me? What would have been put in place? What supports could we have put in place? I might not have had postpartum depression, right? If those societal expectations had not been placed on my shoulders, right? Like what you're talking about and like these expectations of like this shit is innate and me being like, this is not. That's what drove me deeper into depression. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Right. Saying things out loud like my baby doesn't like me. All I'm doing is providing her with food and my body can't even do that. And everybody around me going, ooh, we don't know what to do with this. And I had a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just like very, very interesting to me, these messages that we get and absorb and internalize that are not spoken out loud anywhere. You know what I mean? Like in books, it's not like, hey, you're a dumb bitch if you don't know how to be a mom.
Right.
Or like, if you don't experience that flow of oxytocin and immediately bond with your baby and can't imagine a life without them, there's something wrong with you. But that's the message we get.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I have heard that from so many parents.
Yeah, I can't stand. Just the other day, I saw something where it was like a video of kids being chaotic or something, and the comment section full of people being like, "You're gonna blink, and this is gonna be all good memories."
It makes me want to lay down and take a rage nap.
Yeah, it's
like I can appreciate the, you know, having a difficult time seeing the forest for the trees, but also, again, that's part of how my brain is wired. That is part of the societal like weight that has been placed on me as a person who's been socialized as a woman. And in therapy, my therapist had to say, what was your day like today with the kids when they were little? And I would say, I don't know. I took them to Chick-fil-A. I barely made it through the fucking day. You know, we went to Target, we went to Chick-fil-A, and then we came home. And she had to say, if you asked your oldest, who was like 4 at the time, what her day was like, what do you think she would have said? And I said, she would have been ecstatic that I let her play in the play place today, because that's what I never let her do that. And my, 3-year-old was really glad that he loves chicken nugget. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that is a much more helpful reframe than this time goes by so quickly. You're going to miss this. It's like, then let me be 40 and miss it. Like, that's something that it's not helpful.
Right.
To make me feel like shit that I'm frustrated because my 4-year-old won't put her shoes on.
Yeah, and it only focuses on the bad, because it's like, yeah, it can be bigger than that. It can be hard, and the challenge can be part of it, I'm
going to start doing a body doubling like hour, but instead of working, we're just going to hold space for all of the fucking societal parental guilt that we hold as a group.
Let's just put in a little message in a bottle and throw it. Molotov cocktail.
Molotov cocktail.
Let's make the shirt. Mom guilt.
That's
Toss
a great shirt. Let's get Creepy Streepy on the line.
Oh, yeah.
Their designs are top notch. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, this was all over the place, but you're listening to a podcast with 2 people who are diagnosed ADHD. So what do you want from us? This was great. My brain feels better. Also, if you guys have questions, Laura has a freebie on her website specifically for housekeeping, house cleaning. That is a really good tool that goes down, like, here's what the skills are. Like, here's what each room entails. Here's what, a checklist. Also, Goblin Tools, Goblin.tools, TOOLS, is a tool that I use for my ADHD clients and for myself, frankly, where you can type in a skill, and then they have spiciness levels, because, like neurospicy, get it? Where it's like 1 chili up to 5 chilies of how deeply do you want this task broken down? Like, how minutely do you want it broken down? And it will break that task down for you. So if it's putting the baby down for a nap, it will break that shit down for you in manageable steps, so that you have a checklist, so that you can, like, learn how to break a task down if something seems really overwhelming to you. That's a tool that I use with a lot of clients and for myself.
That's incredible.
It's genius.
Don't you have a course that people can take too?
Yeah, oh my God. So I also have a course that I made that is available for $35 on Teachable. That's Fair Play for Neurodivergent Couples. Based on feedback, there's also a couple of things that I'm going to record this weekend to update it. I am really working on figuring out how to get automations for iPhones and for Androids set up, so y'all can just either put them into your phones or scan a QR code and get them preloaded into your phones. But there's a lot of extra material that's going to be added into there in the next month or so. But Fair Play for Neurodiverse Couples, that is at my LinkedIn profile or on my website. But yes, absolutely, that resource is available to anybody who wants it.
Awesome. Okay, that was a great question. I do think we covered it. I do.
I do.
Somewhere
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
for sure. And some. Yeah, and then some. We killed it.
All right. Everybody
Awesome.
follow, like, share. If you review, that is super helpful. It's great. Share it with your buddies. Thank
Helps
you
other
as
people
always
find
for
us.
listening.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
We'll see ya.
Bye.